Hello dear graffiti friends. Today we are starting a new tutorial from the How to Draw series. Today we will easily transform the letters A, B and C into a bubble style. This is a simple and very effective way to improve your skills. Believe me. I'll give you a tip, try it for just 5 minutes every day. You will make enormous progress. Okay, let's get started. We start with normal letters as an outline. My tip, if you sketch on paper, don't press the pencil so hard. This makes the second step easier. Are you ready? Let's start with the letter A. First, we make a line at a constant distance from our first outline. You can also see this as a routine that you outline for a few minutes every day. Very easy. As you develop a routine for letters, you will quickly notice that you become more and more confident in the shape of your letter. That's why I always say, sketch, sketch, and as sketch we continue to outline the B and then the letter C. Always keep it nicely proportional. Same distance to the first outline. If I remember when I first came into contact with bubble styles, it was definitely in the early 1990s in Berlin. There were a few writers who made use of bubble style, like Oxbow or Rasta, which caught my eye immediately. The eye-catcher was Oxbow because he bombed with silver and hot red around the Kuh Dam, one of the magnificent miles in Berlin. But even more so it was the crew bombings who stood for bubble style in Berlin. At the forefront were crews like RCB and OCB as well as CBS, CAF, and KO crew to name just a few. If you feel like it, just write me in my comments who you find inspiring in bubble style. For me there are many, for example, Cope 2, Phase 2, but more on that later. Enough with my graffiti stories, we want to move on to the next step for our bubble style. Are you ready? Then let's move on to step 2. We start with the upper attachment point of the bow on the stomach. Here we simply start pulling the base diagonally upwards to get some momentum straight away. Then we place the curve of the stomach and simply pull it out longer and a little higher as we feel. At the beginning you can be a little more reserved. With every new attempt you can learn more courageously. But advice from me. Please don't exaggerate, because these letters also have aesthetic rules. So step by step. Now let's put our first bubble. We imagine a fictitious serif. We simply do this as a round approach. The letter A is then safer. Now we draw a long, pointed bow upwards. Here you can also proceed based on your feeling. In the end you just have to get there before the small coat of paint. Then you have room for another bubble. We intentionally set the punch of the A a little higher to play with the proportions. Narrow at the top. Wider at the bottom. Finally, we make clean points inside the letter. That just looks nicer. Believe me, it just looks nicer and cleaner in the end. According to our motto, always work cleanly. For those of you who paint on paper, I would give the tip and try varying the thickness of the outlines. Slightly thinner at the apexes of the curve. Otherwise, long sheets start a little thicker. No more cleaning. Now let's look at the letter B. We also start like with the A, only now at the top of the letter B. Very quickly we pull the first arc to the top left and place the first bubble. Now we draw an arc downwards to get an endpoint that shows us approximately how deep we will place the letter. If we keep this in mind, we can start with the bow from the stomach. Do not exaggerate, but always step by step. As with the letter A, there are aesthetic rules when inflating a letter. It doesn't go beyond recognition, unless you want to develop anti-bubble style letters. Then just do it. We let the lower end in a bubble again. But put aside the fear that you might strain the letter too much. Starting over is also an option. Unlike the A, we set the so-called punch of the B slightly downwards. This pumps up the letter even more and gives the impression that the letter is breathing in air. The arrangement of the punch gives the impression that you are writing in the same font family. This is very, very important. A point that you should remember if you want to develop your own font family. I'll definitely make a video tutorial about this. At the end, clean the inside of the letter again. If we now trace the letters properly, then we can also tell something. Or do you need the rest? No. I'll just ask you something again. Do you already follow this channel? If not, then you should do that now. I would like to thank you in advance. Are you ready for the next letter? Now to the letter C. The C feels like a big bow. But that's not how it is. Attention, we start with the top approach. First, we put a bubble to better define our height. Because in our case, this bubble is the highest point. Now the back of the letter is given a nice long bow. At the end, we want to bring movement to the letters. The inner arc is a very important, if not the most important line of the letter. We can influence everything with this single line. Then we draw the inner bow. This sheet is the only way to determine the proportions of the letter. In our case, a little narrower at the top. Below, we will give it more room to integrate into the font family. To address something else. We now paint here on paper or digitally. Painting on the wall becomes completely different. Some of you have probably already had experience and can confirm this. As a note for you, a tutorial with other letter combinations is coming soon. Maybe you would like to watch further episodes. So always leave a nice comment. That would be the first step. The whole thing is pretty simple. And now it's time to practice diligently. Only then will you get the routine. And then you will achieve quick success. Thank you for watching this tutorial until the end. Subscribe to my channel. I'm already preparing the next tutorial for you to take another step towards bubbles. Greetings go out.